About your daughter, your oldest daughter. You were talking about how much of a help she is.
Yeah, she's a huge help. She is very good at just, supporting me when I need to, and my husband's working or whatever. But she just, I mean, it's crazy, but she had been praying and like asking me for a sister specifically. And I was like, well, you can't choose. And that like think that Christmas, I was backing out. She was going to go to a daddy daughter dance, and I'm backing out of the driveway. And I was like, if there's anything in the world that you could have, because I had an inkling
Yeah.
that maybe it was real this time, but I didn't know.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, about anything in the world for Christmas, like it could be anything, not even just a toy. Like what would it be?" And she goes, because she hadn't asked me for a while either. So I was like, what would it be? And she goes, either a cat or a baby sister. And I was like, well, which one would you want more? And she goes, I think a cat. And I said, oh, interesting. And I go, why is that? And she goes, because I'm already getting a baby sister. And I was like, what? And I was like, that's it. I gotta get this pregnancy test. So when she was with my husband at the daddy daughter dance, I took it and it was positive. I was, oh my God, like in disbelief because it had been like years, we thought about it. I was still panicking because I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this again because the first one was so crazy. Like it's just such a, just a lot. But yeah, I was a little bit sick in the first trimester this time, which is normal, but it went away like right at 12 weeks. It was fine. I was fine by then. And then the rest of pregnancy, I was walking. I mean, I was working out, I was swimming, I was doing everything. And I mean, I was huge, but I was like, I felt fine,
Yeah.
I think I looked better too. Like I looked like genuinely like glowing. You know how they say that? Like people would say that when I was pregnant with the first one, but I was not glowing. I did not look well. I was not okay. Like it just took a lot on me. Like
Yeah.
so- but yeah, that one was it was just the second one was a lot better. And then to find out, because we did a gender reveal, and I was like, this is more for like my daughter Brianna. I was like, this is more for her because like I don't care either way, I'm just ecstatic that we're gonna have another one and she's not gonna be alone, growing up. Because I always had, I mean, I'm the oldest of four. So yeah, so I had like a decently big family, like siblings, and I love them. Like life wouldn't be the same without them. So I was like, I'm just so happy that we were having another one. Like I don't care what it is. So then when we did the gender reveal and it was a girl, she was like, I knew it. And I don't know how she knew it, but she thought it was a girl from the beginning. And she was right. Like when I finally got to that place where I just like surrendered the whole thing and I was like, you know what? I you sometimes think that you know what's best for you and you don't, right? So then I'm like, well, maybe, you know what? Maybe it's just not meant for me maybe I'm just supposed to focus on my business. Maybe, maybe we're supposed to adopt. Like I was just like, I'm just gonna give it up to whatever is gonna happen is gonna happen. I'm gonna live my life, right? As soon as I did that, I got pregnant. So
That's how it happened.
yep. So when you don't really care, just be prepared because once you finally just you're like, okay, we're gonna try, might happen like right away.
I love being pregnant. And I nursed my son for 15 months, and I nursed my daughter for 23 months.
Oh
So that
wow.
was like the best part about motherhood for me was like nursing them.
Hmm.
It was just cool to be able to feed them from your own body. So
Yes. Well, I nursed both of mine as well. My oldest, I think going back to work kind of put a damper on it, but I still got to like 7 months, which isn't bad. And then With my youngest, it was 10, almost 11 months. Yeah,
Okay.
almost a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went longer with the second. I thought it would be shorter with the second, but it was actually longer than with the second.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times in there that I was like, I'm done. But I kept doing it because I think it's the best way to set them up for success in terms of their immune system. And, it is a sacrifice, but so is pregnancy. So is everything. So is everything about motherhood, everything. So
Even
what's one more
like
thing?
career, even like aside from motherhood, when you're in school for 8 years to
Hmm.
become a doctor or whatever, everything is a sacrifice. So yeah, you're right.
Everything about, yes, being a parent is a sacrifice. I think, to be honest with you, that was maybe like when I realized when I was going to become a mom that the old Amy that I thought used to be the fun Amy, the things that everybody thought I was fun, right? Wasn't really socially acceptable anymore in motherhood. And I was like, oh, well, who am I then? Like, fun became totally different, like, I mean, I'm still fun. We don't stay out till 2 in the morning and, like, I don't hang out with people every single weekend. It's just, I hang out with my family. I don't hang out with my friends as much. So, and then also, too, my husband and I, because we've been together for a long time, we were one of the first people in our group of friends to have a baby. So, I felt a little like, I don't know, like ditched. Like everybody was still out, going out, doing all the things you do when you're single. And they didn't want to hang out with me and my baby. Like they just, and then they'd invite us out and it's like, no, we can't. Like it's just no, because you have to wake up and like when you're hung over and a mom, it's just not fun at all. Not that it ever was, but like you have to make sure that your child is okay. And then it's like not fun for them either. And you just feel guilty.
That's
So it's like, it's just not a lifestyle that you continue with when you're a parent. And I, I am fine with that. Like, I feel good. Like, as somebody who's committed to my health, like, drinking is not a good idea, right? And getting sleep is a good idea. And honestly, my second one doesn't sleep that great. And but like that's, your priorities change. And now we go to cheerleading games and football games early in the morning on Saturdays, like so that's our fun now. And I love it.
that's right. Yes. Now, do you think there is a difference with like your single friends, if you have any, versus your mommy friends? Because I think that there is. We both understand each other. Like if you and I were to have a play date, we would go, hey, it's time to get the girls to sleep, like that whole ordeal. So
Yeah.
do you think there's a difference with you?
Yeah, like the people that I know of that are still single or even parents that are maybe, they're divorced, so they don't have their kids every weekend. They're still like going out and partying all the time or just have more of a social life. And my mom friends, we all can share, like you said, like we're like-minded, we're tired. But we have like a schedule that we stay on and what are you guys having for dinner? Our conversations are different. It's like, hey, my vacuum cleaner just died. Like, do you have a good like suggestion on which one picks up the best dog hair? Like, that's like honestly like the conversations we have now. It's just different.
I love that you touched on that because that is so true. Yes.
Yes. Or like, I don't know, I'm trying to think. Like my friend Yulia, she's like, "Hey," she's like, "I'm gonna put the kids to bed." She's my next door neighbor. She's like, "Meet me out back and we'll go." Like it's like total Texas, like we have alleys, She's like, meet me out back for a drink. I'm like, okay, just one. Yeah, just one because I'm exhausted. But then we'll be on like a 75-day hard challenge where we are working out every single day. We're finding different books to inspire each other, and we do. Like when she needs somebody to uplift her, she'll be like, hey, this and this is happening. And then I'll be like, give her good advice. Like I told her recently, I said, we only have this one life to live, and we're going to be this young for so long, and our kids are only going to be young for so long, and they're only going to need us like they do now at this stage. And so, yeah, it's hard, but like, I mean, it's going to be a different hard. You have to choose your hard, right? Because it's like, then become teenagers. When they become teenagers, they're not going to need us like they do now, but it's going to be a different hard because it's going to be like, oh my gosh, are they okay? I can't get a hold of them, like it's just different.
Mhm. It is. What would you say the most rewarding thing is about motherhood? It's two things.
Um, where I feel like my work has kind of paid off is like I will overhear my daughter giving somebody like some awesome advice, like wise beyond her years. She just turned 9, um and just when I walk into the school to eat lunch with her and get a standing ovation of kids that I've never really met or don't know them that well, and they'll come hugging me and like, that's Bree's mom. And they're just like, I feel like a celebrity. Like, it's because she's kind and she's thoughtful and she is a leader to her peers because she is so loyal and she's genuine like in her care for everybody. I mean, last year she had a whole schedule of who she plays with on each day for at recess, just to make it fair, to make sure that she played with everyone. Like, I mean, she amazes me. And that's like super organized. I was never that organized. I've only become organized because of motherhood. Honestly,
You can say that again.
because you have to be.
Yeah. So the kindness from your kids. So what's the most challenging aspects about motherhood? To I know there are so many different things like what we worry about as mothers and things like that, but what would you say are some
I
challenges?
think the most stressful times is when they're sick, for sure. Just like, I think the maybe it's not realistic anxiety around like checking on them, making sure they're breathing. Like, you know, um, my youngest just had croup, and it was just scary because it's like it was such a bad like congestion, and I was pretty sure it was croup, and it was. But like that night following us going to the immediate care the next day, it was just really kind of scary. Like, she'd never been that sick before, and she was so lethargic, and she's never like that either. She's very energetic. So I think them being sick is like my biggest stressor, and that has been a challenge. Other than that, I don't know. My daughter, my oldest, is like she's always been so easy. So easy. Um, we've gotten into some lessons like when kids are picking on her. Honestly, when her heart is broken, that is another challenge. That's a big challenge as a mom to be okay. Like she had a really good friend she made here. Like when we moved to Texas, she moved away from all her friends and all of our family. And for a while, I wasn't sure she was ever going to be a happy kid again. She was always bubbly, and just something about her changed. And then she was just, you could tell she wasn't as happy anymore. And I was like, my gosh, I broke her. Like, and then she went to kindergarten, and I was like, oh, she just needs to find friends her age again. She'll be fine. And she didn't. this kid was stealing her lunch day one. This other kid was just mean. Her best friend all of a sudden said, I'm so happy that you're not coming back to our school next year. And I mean, trying to help her navigate people who are not nice and not take it personal has been hard, but also seeing her like transition here and realize how much of a impact it had on her was hard. And then I was so happy because we found our house and we found the elementary school she was going to go to. And first person she meets ends up being this little boy. And I had been talking to his mom, I'm sorry. I've been talking to his mom because she does photography and she does her own business. And photography and makeup artistry go very hand in hand because they need people for, shoots, and I need somebody for my portfolio. So we had been trying to get together and it never happened. And then lo and behold, we move. Little did I know, I had no clue where she lived. I just knew she was in the area. She is in the next neighborhood over, and they're in the same class, these
Wow.
two. And they hit it off like first day and became best friends. And he truly, like, it was great because he's a guy, right? And so it's like he set the bar high for her to know how she should be treated by people, by friends, what a true friend really looks like, but also how she should be treated by males. And so, but they moved away, they're military. So then when he moved away, she was heartbroken again. And I was like, you are the only reason why I think I got my bubbly kid back. And now you're leaving. And she was devastated. But he still lives in Texas, so he still see them. So that's nice.
I think one of the most challenging aspects about motherhood for me is just knowing that one day I won't be here anymore. Like like how when you have that conversation and you tell your kid, mommy's not going to be here like forever. That's when
Mm-hmm.
it kind of hits me, and I'm like, wait, I'm not going to be here. What's going to happen? Like when they're 40, or they need someone to call or just speak with. So I think that's the scariest part for me. It's just not being physically here on earth with them forever. So
Yes. I did deal with a lot of fear about that. When Bree was first born, I was like in fear of something happening to me that I wouldn't be here to raise her. And um I don't know, that I think it was just an anxiety thing. It was maybe part of being a first time mom, but I mean, it's not to say that I don't ever think about it, but um I do feel like happy though that she has a sister, because when we're not here, because that's what my big thing was, is like I don't want her to be an only child, and she'll have no one will ever feel the pain that she feels when her parents aren't here any longer. But yes, that is really hard to think about, and I try not to because it's so sad.
yeah, and I think what you're saying is that it gets easier to not think about it as often.
Yes. Because all you can do is set them up to, you know, set them up with the big things in terms of like wisdom and um I don't know, I coach them for as long as you can while you are here on those big things. Like I wish I had somebody who told me some of the things I've learned in my life to share with her. I wish that I had that, and I had to learn it in my 30s. So I feel like on those big things that I learned later that I wish I would have known, because it would have helped me in navigating relationships and even just believing in myself. I think me emphasizing this as she's grown up as a little kid, it's the biggest, most important things to relay since I am here.
I agree. So we talked about like work-life balance. How do you balance motherhood and, womanhood? Like, how do you separate the two? Because, when you do go out and you have a good evening, whether it's with your husband or your friends, or you're even traveling out of the country or state or something, you don't want to be in mother mode. So how do
Hmm.
you keep a healthy balance and kind of just separate the two? As far as like, I'm a mother every day, but Amy, 20 something year old, she's back. And, like, how do you separate womanhood from motherhood in a healthy way?
So like how do I stay like inspired and like caring for myself, like incorporating like that self-care kind of like also.
Yes. Like, how do you remain independent of your title as a mother?
I see. Well, that's been kind of more hard this since my youngest is so young. Getting back into going on dates was a challenge. Like I remember it was our anniversary and we went to a comedy club, and the whole time I was like texting my brother because he was taking care of them, and I was like, is everything okay? Like my friends will also offer to babysit and they're like, oh, she's asleep. No worries, stay as long as you want. And it's like, as much as I like feel like I need a break sometimes, I miss them. Um, but I have to remind myself like it is healthy for me to have a break. It is needed. What I do on a daily basis is I will incorporate time to go to the gym or take a walk. Taking a walk is sometimes the best therapy for me. Like that's all I need is like to take a walk. We live across the street, as a matter of fact, from like a path that has a creek. And that's so therapeutic. So, yeah, so I have certain things I've incorporated that I've found that are good for um just mentally pausing and like taking time to think about things that I usually get interrupted on. Um and I don't I mean, I go out with my friends also dancing sometimes.
How often do you go out with your friends?
Thankfully, some of my friends, most of them are in Illinois, but a couple of them are my next door neighbors, like literally. So one lives right next to me, and the other one lives behind me, and so we'll text each other and just be like, "Hey," I'm like,
Yeah.
"You wanna meet up?" And like we'll just talk. Or they'll come over for coffee in the morning. We'll talk over coffee. We all love coffee. Um, or we go shopping together. Like the other day, we went grocery shopping together. So like sometimes it looks like us just doing our normal like mom wife duties together, but it's somehow funner. I don't know. Like we'll take a Costco trip and like crack up laughing the entire way and just like talk the entire way through it, and we'll give each other different like, oh, these are really good. Have you ever tried them? Like she got me on these chocolate chip cookies, which is like so counterproductive for me like going to the gym, but like we just and then also sometimes we'll do a theme. So like a couple weekends ago, we did a Mexican night, and I'll prepare the margaritas, and she comes over with the tacos. We did a shawarma night. Like, I don't know, us hanging out sometimes is just like the kids swimming in the backyard, the adults jamming out to music, and then doing karaoke or something. Like it's very low key and normally not planned, but it all keeps us sane.
Yes. And so you incorporate motherhood into it. Like you said, getting groceries and, the kids playing in the pool. So that's
Yeah, so
good.
sometimes we do go out and have date nights, and thankfully we have like my brother here and my sister-in-law who will take care of the kids, and I trust them fully. And then sometimes my friend will be like, "Oh, you guys go out, like we'll watch them, no problem." And then because her daughter and my daughter are the same age, they'll hang out and play. And she's really awesome with like the little kids. So she takes my littlest as her own, takes care of her. Like my kids feel super comfortable with them. So it's totally fine and we can go out and enjoy ourselves. But yeah, and sometimes it's just a family affair. Like we just have Sunday fun days and the kids go swimming and the adults hang out and talk, and you know, the husbands get along, the wives get along, all as well. So it's cool because I've always wanted this. Like I've always wanted that. And it's like I looked and looked in Texas when we first moved here to try to find mom friends, and it was just didn't work. And it turns out my best mom friends are literally next door to me. Like how perfect.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.